Okay. I am Betsy Robb. I'm with Friends of the Animal Village. We are a nonprofit group run by volunteers that provides supplemental support to the Little Rock Animal Village. Our entire mission is to support the animal village through fundraising, promotions, spreading the word through things like this. If you don't know, the Little Rock Animal Village is the municipal shelter for the city of Little Rock. They are what you used to call the pound, but we have come a long way from the days of the pound, thankfully. The Animal Village opened just over 10 years ago, a great new facility that's very open and welcoming and inviting, and we've only gone up since then. The Little Rock Animal Village takes in about 4,000 animals a year. They are open intake, which means they can't turn anyone away as far as people showing up with strays or owner surrenders from inside the city. So that means that they take in thousands of animals a year and they have to find a place for them to go. And that's one of the things that we help them with. The last year has actually been pretty different in that they've actually been closed to the public since last March when COVID began. And that is part of the city's COVID restrictions. They've been closed to the public since then. They're currently working on a plan to get reopened. They've started welcoming back some volunteers on a limited basis, but for the most part, their building has been closed to non-staff for over a year now. That doesn't mean that they haven't been taking in animals or that they haven't been adopting out animals. They are the home of Little Rock Animal Control or Little Rock Animal Services. So they've been taking animals this entire time, and that's through their officers going out into the field and picking up animals that people call about. Sometimes people do show up at the door with an animal that they just found and they'll take them in. So intake really has not dropped that much, even though they've been closed to the public for just over a year now. But adoptions have actually gone really, really well, which is surprising since they've been closed to the public. They started doing virtual adoptions a little over a year ago, which means that you can't meet potential pets before adopting them. Obviously, there are some disadvantages to that, but one of the advantages is that instead of relying on an interaction in a loud, noisy shelter that's just a few minutes, you are relying on their staff's assessments of each animal's personality and behavior. And that assessment is going to be a lot more accurate than your 5 to 10 minute interaction with them in a admittedly strange environment for everyone. So we feel like adoptions have been happening with greater success rate, but there have been a lot of returns. Some people they think are adopting just so that they can meet a potential pet, and then they end up bringing them back a couple days later. Others, it just truly wasn't a good fit, and that's okay. We never want people, to hesitate to bring them back to us if they don't think it's a good situation for everybody. We want everyone to be happy. And what I always tell people is that if you adopt and you don't think it's working out despite your best efforts and you feel like you need to bring them back, don't feel guilty about that, because the few days or a week or two that you had them in your home will benefit them when they do get adopted to their forever home. They don't know that you adopted them intending to keep them forever and then weren't able to. They're not going to feel rejected. They're not going to feel abandoned. All they know is they've gotten an awesome vacation from the shelter. And while they're at your home, they will hopefully have picked up on some things like house training. Maybe you've taught them to sit, things of that nature. So it really does benefit them when they go on to their next home. So virtual adoptions have been really interesting, trying to figure out how that works and how it best works. And we've definitely had some surprising illuminations from that. And we want people to be happy, and that includes the animals. We want everybody to be happy when they adopt. Getting out the word about virtual adoptions and about the animals at the Little Rock Animal Village is one of our biggest functions, especially right now with people not able to visit the shelter in person to meet them. Another one of the big things that we do is we fundraise. We raise over $100,000 a year for the Little Rock Animal Village, and all of that money is spent. None of it is lining anyone's pockets. All of us with Friends of the Animal Village or volunteers, those go to things like spay and neuter bills. They currently do not have an on-staff vet. They've been trying to hire one for over a year now, and it's really hard to find a vet who wants to work in a municipal animal shelter. So all of their spay and neuter services have been done by outside vets since then. That costs about $50 to $60 an animal. So when you have 3,000 to 4,000 animals coming through your shelter a year, it really adds up pretty quick. We also pay for heartworm treatment through our heartworm fund. Every heartworm positive dog that is adopted from the Little Rock Animal Village gets treated for heartworms, courtesy of donations made to Friends of the Animal Village. We are able to treat them at cost, which totals up to about $250 to $350 per animal. Now, if you were to just take your own pet to your vet and to have them treated for heartworms, it would cost at least double that, if not triple or quadruple. There is some markup involved, which is how vets stay in business. We can't blame them for that, but we are able to do it at cost, thankfully, although it is still really expensive, and that adds up really quickly. Another thing that we help with is the costs of preparing animals for leaving the shelter when they go on a transport. They transport hundreds of animals out of state every year. That's one of the big ways that they save lives at Little Rock Animal Village. Just this week, 30 cats left the shelter via an ASPCA transport bound for forever homes up north. Up north, they kind of have a opposite situation of what we have down here. Here we have a lot more homeless animals than we have potential homes for them. Up north, they actually have waiting lists of adopters as opposed to waiting lists of animals needing to be adopted. So things like transports help make that math work, and they make that connection, and it just makes all kinds of magic happen. There are a couple of reasons that they have more adopters up north than they have animals. Number one is just the climate. Down here, where it's warm pretty much year round, animals reproduce year round. Up north, where it gets pretty cold, they may only reproduce once a year. Also, it gets cold enough up north that sadly a lot of strays simply don't survive the winter. Whereas down here, they can not only survive, but they're going on to reproduce year after year, multiple times a year. So we kind of have this exponential reproduction effect down here in the South. Up north, they're also a little bit more progressive when it comes to spaying and neutering. It's a kind of a cultural thing in the South that a lot of people don't want to spay or neuter their animals. They have misconceptions about what that means. Spaying and neutering an animal is not going to change their personality. It's going to protect their health in the long run. An unspayed female is very, very prone to developing what's called pyometra, which is an infection of the uterus that can be absolutely deadly. And normally, sadly, pet owners don't realize that they're sick until it's too late. It's one of those things that kind of sneaks up on you because they can't tell you, hey, I don't feel very good. And spaying is the number one way to prevent that. If they don't have a uterus, it can't get infected. So spaying and neutering is super important, not just for helping to control the population, but also for their health. And male dogs, they also get a lot of benefits from being neutered. Helps with behavior issues, marking, competitiveness. I don't want to call it aggression, but competitiveness with other dogs that can lead to some behavior issues. It's just good for them all around. So all of these things are things that we try to help the Little Rock Animal Village do, and we're always trying to help them save more. And one of the big things that you guys can do, aside from simply donating to help with the expenses that I mentioned, is to volunteer. Right now, because they are still closed to the public, they can't accept new volunteers. But as soon as we can welcome back new volunteers, we're going to be blasting that all over our social media. We'll start having volunteer training classes again. And I welcome everybody to come out to the Little Rock Animal Village and see what they're all about, get the grand tour and the lay of the land, and spend some time out there. Volunteering at the Little Rock Animal Village is not about scooping litter boxes and cleaning kennels. It can be if that's how you want to volunteer your time. Nobody's going to turn you down. But for the most part, volunteering at the village is just about spending time with the animals. The staff, they have such limited staff and they are always short staffed, are so busy just taking care of them, getting them the medications that they need, cleaning kennels, that they don't get a lot of time to actually socialize with the animals, to try to work on behaviors with them. So a big part of volunteering at the village is just spending time with them, hanging out with the cats in Joey's playroom, where we have lots of awesome cat furniture, or spending some time with some dogs out in a play yard. I can show you how to teach a dog to sit in about 5 minutes. And let me tell you, that gets them adopted. If an adopter takes a dog out to a yard that they're considering adopting and tells them to sit and they do it, that's the smartest dog ever. And it's so easy to do. Things like that make a huge difference for these animals and really help get them adopted, which is what we're all about. So as soon as we can welcome volunteers back, I welcome all of you to come and join us and see what it's all about. And that's all I've got for you.
Okay, so are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Ross about, can you describe a little bit more about how the virtual adoption, like do people, you know, can they access that, I suppose, from the website and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. If you're looking for a cat or a dog to adopt, go to our website, friendsoftheanimalvillage.org. There's a link on the homepage. It says rescue. From there, you can view adoptable animals. Or if you already know about an animal that you think you're interested in, maybe you saw him on THV one Friday morning. We're on THV every Friday morning with an adoptable pet at 5:55 a.m. If you already know who you're interested in, you go to our website. There's a link on the homepage to apply to adopt. You fill out a pretty simple electronic application, shouldn't take you but a few minutes, and they will call you and do a quick phone interview. And if you're approved, you just do curbside pet pickup. They'll already be sterilized, vaccinated, microchipped, and good to go.
Wow, that's impressive. And then how about if people are interested in donating to help with your costs? Is there a donate button on the website as well?
There are donate buttons all over our website. You just go to friendsoftheanimalvillage.org. You can also go to our Facebook page and there's a donate button there. And there's definitely a link to donate on our website. You can pick certain programs that you want your donation to go to, like our barn cat program or working cat program, as we call it now, which helps place feral cats in homes. They aren't adopted out as a traditional adoption is done, because feral cats will never be a lap cat, but they can be great mousers. They can be great rodent deterrents. They're not so much pest control as they are pest deterrents. You'd be amazed. You bring in a cat like we have in our working cat program, and the rodents just disappear. They don't want to be around anymore. So it's not so much them taking care of it. It's just they don't want to be around. Another program is our Microchips for Everyone program. Before about 2 years ago, the Little Rock Animal Village did not automatically microchip all the animals that they adopted out. You could have that done optionally as an adopter, but we decided that we really wanted every animal to get microchipped that leaves the shelter, because if they're microchipped and have their owner's contact information associated with that chip, there's a much higher chance that if they were to end up in a shelter again because they got loose somehow, got lost, they'll be reunited with their family and we don't have to find yet another home for them. So
That's
there are
great.
a lot of different things that you can donate to on our website.
Okay. We have someone else logging in, so I'm going to give her a few minutes to get logged in case she has any questions.
Sure.
Another question that I thought about, what type of animal do you adopt out the most? Is it dogs, cats, a certain type of dog, a certain type of cat?
It's dogs. Dogs are our number one export. They're also our number one import. So the numbers kind of match. We do get more dogs than anything else. And I think a big part of that reason is that dogs, number one, are more prone to get loose. Cats don't go for walks generally. A lot of dogs end up loose because they're on a walk with their owner, they're on a leash, something scares them and they bolt. So you have a lot more situations like that with dogs. Cats also, it's normal for them to just be outside doing their own thing. A lot of people have outside cats. With dogs, if you see a dog out loose somewhere, they're not supposed to be out loose somewhere. So more people bring them into the animal village. So we do have a lot more dogs come into the shelter than cats, which means we get more dogs adopted out than cats, just simply because of the numbers.
When people are looking to adopt a pet, can they like search for or try to request a certain type of dog? For instance, I know people that are interested in adopting maybe a dog or a cat, but maybe they have difficulty with allergies, which a lot of people say is caused from the dander. So are there certain types of dogs or cats that might be a better fit for someone with allergies if they were looking to adopt?
Absolutely. I mean, someone who has allergies, you're completely right that the biggest source of that allergen is not the hair, it's the dander, which even a non-shedding or hairless dog is going to, I don't know what the right word is, but they're going to release dander, which is really the most allergenic thing. You can definitely tailor your search if you're allergic to non-shedding cats or dogs. One of the greatest tools is petfinder.com. You can go to petfinder.com and you can search for certain breeds in your area from rescues and shelters. Now, it won't just be us on there, but that's okay. If you have something really specific you're looking for, we just want you to be able to adopt it rather than having to go to a breeder that may actually be a puppy mill, sadly, which is a big trend that we're seeing in non-shedding dogs, like the poodle mixes that are so prevalent now. But petfinder.com is a really, really great tool if you're looking for something specific. And of course, you can always message us, call us, email us, and tell us what you're looking for, and we'll try to help make that match for you.
Okay. So for the other people that are in attendance in the program, does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Ross this evening?
Can you describe the differences between the city pound and the county humane societies, and then foster care and
Sure.
like that? What's the difference?
So when you say county humane societies, I'm assuming you're talking about Pulaski County Humane Society.
Yeah, and there's Faulkner County Humane Society too.
Right. And Faulkner County Humane Society, they don't have an actual shelter. They're more of a rescue group that is foster based, which I'll get into that next. Humane Society of Pulaski County is also an animal shelter, similar to us, similar to the Little Rock Animal Village, but they're a private shelter. So they don't have to take in any animals, whereas we do have to take in, anything that comes their way from within their jurisdiction of the city of Little Rock. Humane Society of Pulaski County can take in or turn away whatever animals they like. They also receive no city funding. The Little Rock Animal Village does receive city funding, but that funding is limited to overhead things like utilities and salaries. They actually don't receive any funding for medical expenses because the adoption fees are expected to cover that, which they don't. So that's a big part of the reason that we exist. But Humane Society of Pulaski County is a private shelter, so they're able to control their intake. Last I looked, they take in about 1,000 animals a year, and they do deal more often in like tougher cases that have a lot of special requirements for their home and things like that. So their adoption rate may be a little slower. Then there's also Pulaski County Animal Control, and that is the municipal animal control agency for outside of the city limits in Pulaski County. They do actually have a pound. I believe it's half a dozen kennels. It's not open to the public ever, and they don't do adoptions. There are some rescue groups that work with them from time to time when they have some animals that I guess they feel would do well in a forever home. But for the most part, that's a very, very different shelter than the Little Rock Animal Village or Humane Society of Pulaski County. Now, Faulkner County Humane Society, if I remember correctly, is a foster-based rescue, which means they don't have a physical shelter. CARE in Little Rock is the same kind of organization. All of their animals that are in their program are living in foster homes. So they've got, maybe a dozen, 2 dozen foster homes, each with 1 or 2 pets in them. And they care for them like, you know, they're dog sitting, and adopt them out from there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question for Ms. Ross this evening? Megan, thanks for joining us. You were a little bit late getting on the call. Did you have any questions for Ms. Ross this evening? You're muted in case you're trying to talk.
No questions right now. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Well, Ms. Ross, if you don't have anything else for us, then I guess we'll just wrap it up. Is there anything, any closing thoughts or anything that you'd like to share with us?
You know, I did just think of one thing: lost and found pets. Obviously, lost and found pets are a lot of what we deal with. And a shelter like the Little Rock Animal Village is where you want to go if you've lost your pet. Right now, obviously, you can't physically go there, but you can call there and ask them if they've taken in an animal of a certain description since such and such date. But also, one of the greatest resources we have in Arkansas for lost and found pets is Arkansas Lost and Found Pet Network. They have a website and a Facebook page. You can submit a pet as either lost or found or just spotted loose, and they will post it on their network. And the idea is that you guys can make a connection with the owner or with the finder of your pet. And that's a really, really great tool if you have lost or found a pet in Arkansas.
All right. And I'm sure like the contact information for Little Rock Animal Village and all of that is going to be on the website. So we thank you for coming on and sharing with us this evening about Little Rock Animal Village. And do you mind just telling everybody what the website is? And then if they want to go explore further, they can do that.
It's friendsoftheanimalvillage.org. You can also just Google us, Friends of the Animal Village, or you can Google Little Rock Animal Village and you'll find us. We're also on Facebook.
Thank you.
Thank you.